Professor Indra, Abeysekera. Let's look at sampling plans. There are two plans. First one is probability sampling. The other one is non-probability sampling. So under probability sampling, there's simple random sampling and complex probability sampling. Under the complex probability sampling, there are four: systematic sampling, stratified random, cluster sampling, and double sampling. So stratified random sampling can be further approached as a proportionate or disproportionate stratified random sampling. Under non-probability sampling, there's snowballing, convenience sampling, and purposive sampling. Under purposive sampling, it can be approached as judgment sampling or quota sampling. So if we look at the probability sampling, what we mean by probability sampling is that when we look at the population, there are elements in the population, and there's a known chance that every element has a known chance of being chosen as a sample representative. So under the simple random sampling, when we choose, we randomly choose. So there's a known and equal chance of an element being chosen for the sample. Under the complex probability sampling, elements of the population are chosen and they are known and equal chance of being chosen, but we classify the target population into different strands, and then from those strands there's a known and equal chance of being chosen. So if you look at the complex probability sampling, the first one is the systematic sampling. In the systematic sampling, that we choose the nth element, every nth element, say for example every fifth element in the population. The stratified random sampling is another one under that complex probability sampling, where there's homogeneity or similarity within a group. The elements are similar, but between subgroups, the subgroups are dissimilar. So when we approach the stratified random sampling plan, we can proportionately choose elements from that subgroup or disproportionately choose the element from the subgroup, depending on the research problem that we investigate. The cluster sampling is where within the subgroup there are differences, but between subgroups between subgroups are similar. The next under complex probability sampling is where the researcher initially sampled to explore the population. Based on the findings from that sampling, the researcher then developed a new sampling plan to examine the population in more detail. So the new sampling plan could be systematic or simple random or a stratified cluster. Let's look at the non-probability sampling. In the non-probability sampling, the elements can have a zero chance of being selected for the sample. The first one under that is the snowballing. Snowballing means that when element is selected for the sampling, that elements will provide the next element. So that element will say to talk to this person. So it provides the next element. Convenience sampling is where the researcher conveniently identify the elements from the population for the sampling plan. Purposive sampling is the purpose of selecting elements from the population. It could be judgment sampling or quota sampling. In the judgment sampling, elements are selected who have the requisite knowledge to for the research problem to provide information, provide data for the research problem. It could be that the research problem requires uh, uh, getting data from experts, so then the the um, the purposive sampling plan will identify experts as the elements. Quota sampling is where the elements are purposely selected to represent a quota. Depending on the research problem, maybe that the researcher is looking for opinions in relation to the the organizational culture, maybe in a certain job category that the number of people are very less, maybe just one person. Quota sampling will require even that one person to be selected for for sampling plan, because in that way it meets the, uh, the data requirement for that job category. So when we look at the sampling plans, the purpose of sampling could be to generalize findings or not to generalize findings. So if it is to generalize finding, then we follow the scientific approach, and then in that, then we tend to use the probability-based sampling. So the if it is possible, simple random sampling will provide the, the elements randomly from the population, and if there's equal chance. Systematic sampling is used for large population when that target population is available as a listing, for example, so that we can select the nth item, for example, the fifth item in that directory, so that we can randomly choose from that listing. The next one is cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is where there's homogeneity or similarity between groups, but there are differences within the group. For example, staff resignation among job categories. Within job categories, say white collar and blue collar, the white collar category, there's heterogeneity in in um, in the reasons as to why they uh, left the job, and so is in blue collar jobs. But if you look at the research objective, for example, looking at the resignation, then the sampling plan is homogeneous in relation to the research objective of the resignation, because we are looking at the resignation of both types. So they become similar in relation to the two groups become similar in relation to the fact that that is about resignation. The next one is stratified random sampling. It's where the groups between groups are different, but within the group the elements are similar. For example, the research problem requires looking at companies' behavior or organizational practices. In that, maybe we want to look at the differences within the industry, because the fact that different industries can have different practices. So we would have subgroups as industry groups, and from that we will choose the elements for the sample. The double sampling is where we explore the target population, and from the target population, then we design a sampling plan, and sampling plan could be for simple random, systematic, cluster, or stratified random. We can also have the approach, if we are not going to generalize the findings, we can, for example, we follow the alternative approach or research methods, and we can use your judgment and quota sampling, where we require information from the experts, for example. We will purposefully sample them, or quota, for example. We want information data from each job category, and one job category has only one person. We still select that category. So that's quota sampling, where each quota is been fulfilled. Snowballing is where we take the lead from the first element in the population to find the next element in the population for the sample. This could be, for example, if a study is undertaken to find where the refugee hideout places. If that is illegal in a given country, then you might speak to a refugee, and that refugee can give a lead about another refugee where the researcher can go and talk to. Convenience sampling is where the researcher conveniently identify a sample, element from the population, and